So, a little bit of a later video this afternoon, but the Vancouver Canucks do have a game later off tonight against the Chicago Blackhawks. That will be interesting, especially for me, because I, for one, have multiple Chicago players on my fantasy team. I have Peter Mrazek, great against the Seattle Kraken. I have Ryan Donato, great against the Seattle Kraken. I have Connor Bedard, who has admittedly kind of sucked the past little while. The guy just can't get going, he gets shots like crazy, but he doesn't score, and he rarely gets assists either. It's so weird, the way Connor Bedard's season has gone so far. And look, I get it, it's his hometown game. He says he's paying to play because he's got to buy tickets for all his family members to go watch the game. If there was a game for Connor Bedard to start scoring the lights out, it's this one. He's playing against Artur Shilovs, who has not been hot. Heck, I hope Vancouver scores the lights out in this one too. Please, Sherwood, Joshua, get some goals. Go out there and put some pucks on goal. Chase Arvid Soderblom out the net so that Peter Mrazek gets back in and I can get more saves. Ultimately, that's what I hope happens. That would be the best case scenario for me, personally, because I'm getting smoked this week in fantasy. But we'll talk about that and more by the time the game is actually over. We'll make our post-game video talking about Connor Bedard's return home. But the reason this video is a little bit later and I don't feel too bad about it is because the main topic of this video isn't actually going to be anything relating to Chicago-Vancouver. Today what I wanted to turn your attention to was an article on Elias Pettersson from Sweden. Take a look at this. It was posted onto Expressen.se. Elias Pettersson's dream with Team Sweden. I can play anywhere. This was posted on November 13th, and it was written and published by Gunnar Nordstrom. It is behind a paywall, so we're not going to go out there and screenshot the article itself, but if you can read the preview here, you could see what it is. LA, you could call it an autumn from hell. But now, Elias Pettersson is on the move. 5 points in his last 3 games, and the slump seems to be over. However, he admits that it has been a difficult fall. It hasn't been the best start for me, but the only thing I can influence is my effort, and if I work hard, the points will come. With good habits on the ice comes the score, he says when Expressen meets him in an exclusive interview in LA. Now, that's all fine and dandy to see Elias Pettersson believing in himself and talking about how he can become better and score points and everything. That's good, right? But the thing is, this article actually has a really intriguing update as to Elias Pettersson's social media habits. And to help us out, because this is behind a paywall, we're going over onto our Canucks on the Reddits here, because Papa Pendrani went out there and pretty much summarized, transcribed, translated a lot of what was said here, so a big shout out over to Papa Pendroni. EP40 says, I have removed all social media. That's a pretty big thing. Here's the interview with EP40 in Swedish. I'll do my best to translate the whole thing. I hope you can get something out of it. Elias Pettersson dreams of playing with Team Sweden. I can play anywhere. The article opens up with the same thing that we read about earlier, but then it goes out there and talks about this. Elias Pettersson's dry spell has been a hot topic in Canadian media. The subject has been discussed during Hockey Night in Canada, and of course, daily in Hockey Crazy Vancouver, where magazines, radio, and TV follow the Canucks during every practice, gathering, and game. With his new mega contract, the expectations are enormous. And I wanted to open this up by saying, look at how well written that is. That's so holistic and summarizing of what the Vancouver landscape is like when it comes to hockey. Of course, it's easy to think about all of the criticism and all the people talking about me and my contract, Pettersson says. I know I haven't started the season that well. It's all on me, and I'm just trying to look forward to the next game and play better. I have removed all of my social media, which is nice because I'm not walking around wasting time scrolling on the internet. I also get more done at home. It's very nice not to read and check Instagram. I live my life, and I try to turn the season around. Damn! The guy straight up deleted the gram? Now, okay, look, if you look, Pettersson's Instagram is still an active account. You can still follow him, you can still interact with his posts, but the fact is, Elias Pettersson made his presence known not just on the ice for the past few years, but also on the gram, because of his social media influencer-styled posts and his fashion, the people that he'd hang out with. He'd go out with Michael Bublé, he'd hang out with BB No Money, he'd hang out with his friends and go on vacation, and he'd post pictures about it. Elias Pettersson had a pretty distinct style and aesthetic when it came to the way he posted on social media, and it did seem like for a good moment that this was a pretty big part of the brand he was trying to build. Not necessarily just as a hockey player, but as a personality on the internet, an influencer athlete, if you wanted to say. So for EP40 to be so ingrained in that culture, I mean, he is Gen Z, right? He kind of grew up around this stuff, but with all of the Instagramming comes all of the Instagram comments, and I think all you gotta do is just take a look at Pettersson's most recent post back from March and look at the comments of people talking about him and his playoff struggles back then, and you kind of get the idea here. Also, there were some reports, I forgot who it was from, Saravalli or Friedman or whomever it was, that indicated that Elias Pettersson might actually have been receiving some of the criticism directed towards him online from people in his inner circle, like his friends or something. And look, when we learned about that a few weeks ago, I said very explicitly here in my video commentaries, hey, if you know Elias Pettersson, if you know the guy personally and you're out here listening to me in my computer chair in a random apartment in Vancouver talking crap about this guy, don't send this video to him. Don't show the athletes that I or anybody else is going out there and talking smack. That does nothing. That accomplishes zero. If you are a friend of the man himself, don't tell him, hey, this Lego Rocks guy's really taking the piss out of you online. That doesn't do anything. That makes everybody's lives worse. And it's not like, oh, I'm embarrassed. Like, I wouldn't say this in front of their faces. Like, oh, you'll back down. No, it's not like that. It's, I have a role. The internet has their role. Writers, analysts, they have their roles to go out there and say what they have to say about what they're seeing in an objective way, or at least in a way that's objective as possible. Sure, it's a little bit subjective to get some personal feelings in there, but if Pettersson's not playing well, then he's not playing well. Straight up. It just does not accomplish anything to have him listen to me go on a commentary-style rant that talks about him doing that. It doesn't help anybody. He's not going to listen to that and say, oh, yeah, he's right. I gotta go out there, shoot the puck more. Like, no, he knows that. He knows he's got to do better. So don't show any athletes what I or what anybody else on social media is saying. It's just going to be bad for their mental. And so for Elias Pettersson to straight up set away the Instagram and say, yeah, I deleted it. I deleted the Instagram. I deleted the social media. That, I think, is such an amazing step that we could not have expected out of this guy. That really goes to show the improvements he is trying to make. We know he is dedicated. We know he puts in effort. We know that he wants to be the best. It's just for the past, let's say, 7 months or so, he's really not been that. 7 months? Maybe even like more than that. Maybe 8 months. 9 months. Yeah, after the All-Star break. The rest of the article goes out there and talks about Elias Pettersson and his perception, how he's feeling against certain teams. Yeah, the games feel better now. I had a few scoring chances, but I lost the puck against the Kings. Overall, we played well defensively against a hard-to-play against Kings team and drove the play for the most part. I believe in the Canucks. I know we are good when everyone is rolling, and we feel good about how we were last year and that we're hard to beat. But we need to stay humble, and I think starting to find our game as a team. There also was some conversation about the face-off tournament in February, how he wants to be on Team Sweden. He can play anywhere as long as he is on the ice. So big shout out over once again to the writer of the article on Expressen.se, Gunnar Nordstrom, as well as the poster on Reddit, Papa Pendroni, who went out there and gave the comments here. But I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. How do you feel about Elias Pettersson and Instagram? The fact that he straight up deleted it. Not his account, but just the app on his phone. So now he's not interacting with any of the people that are going out there and always tagging him and stuff. He's not reading any of the nasty DMs, because you know, hockey fans can be pretty stupid sometimes in sending players death threats or anything else based off of their inadequacies on the ice. Of course, the guy's making $11.6 million a year, so he kind of has to be good. But when he's not, Canucks fans can be pretty snarky and pretty terrible to deal with on the internet. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Elias Pettersson deleting Instagram. What are your thoughts about this interview on him? And what are your opinions about his transformation this season, I guess you could say. I hope you enjoyed this Vidashashros 99. And bye.